This is Mduduzi Nkosi. He suffers from a genetic disorder that makes his bones very brittle and prone to fracturing. This disorder is known as osteogenesis imperfecta, and it affects an estimated 6 to 7 out of every 100,000 people worldwide. Mduduzi's bones have become so weak in recent years that he is now permanently wheelchair-bound.
I accepted it, but it took me a long time too. It's such a big challenge to live with osteogenesis imperfecta.
Mduduzi has to be very careful to avoid falling out of his chair. Even the slightest knock to his limbs can cause fractures and result in hospitalization.
If you experience walking before, then you heard you are no longer be walking, you are going to be in a wheelchair. It's a challenge. Sometimes you think a lot of things. Now I'm no longer going to be independent, but it's not like that. When times goes on, I realize that I can still do some of the things on my own.
Mduduzi plays wheelchair tennis. He uses a specialized wheelchair that maximizes balance. As a youth, Mduduzi has had to learn quickly how to live with the stigma society has towards physically disabled people.
Socially, they expect everyone to be perfect. There's no one who's perfect. We all have imperfection, but mine is visible.
The chair is quite a powerful thing. It's actually more visible than the person sitting in it, I think, most of the time.
Nyasha Marakurwa, a fellow wheelchair user, has never walked. He became disabled through a congenital defect at birth. At just 32, Nyasha is a celebrated Paralympian after representing Zimbabwe at the 2012 London Paralympics. He specializes in wheelchair tennis, a sport he now teaches Mduduzi and other physically disabled youth in Soweto.
If you look at the place where I'm coaching, where the kids have to walk from school through the community to the tennis courts and back, they get to be part of another life that they would never be part of. Sometimes they actually interact with these guys along the way. And I remember Mduduzi had so many friends along that route.
Even the people from community, when they see us moving up and down the racket, they become surprised. What are you going to do with the racket? I'm going to play tennis. Tennis in a wheelchair. Is that possible?
Tennis is one of those things that is playing a role in these players to actually break out and realize that I'm an athlete. I'm not a disabled athlete, I'm an athlete.
People with osteogenesis imperfecta are born with a deficiency in or inability to produce type 1 collagen. Collagen acts as the reinforcing rods during the construction of bones in our bodies. Without this connective tissue, bones are left very weak. There is no cure for the disease, but people with osteogenesis imperfecta should engage in exercise to promote muscle and bone strength. The chance of fracturing or breaking bones decreases when muscles and bones are strengthened through sport. Tennis is encouraged because it is a non-contact sport, so the chance of bone fracturing is minimal. But there is an added benefit to Mduduzi's participation in wheelchair tennis. The sport has enabled him to build up his self-confidence.
I think the biggest thing for me is what sport has done, especially wheelchair tennis, is to help a lot of these players to get out of the shell, to actually see themselves as somebody that is out there and achieving something.
Playing tennis, it inspired me to do more. Now I involve myself in many things where I think I cannot cope, but to find out that I can manage because of the tennis. The tennis really changed my attitude toward things. Now I look at things in a positive way.
You actually see the amount of confidence that somebody has generally increases. And just the way they look at themselves changes dramatically for a lot of the players that I've coached.
Gaining confidence through tennis has inspired Mduduzi not to limit himself and to try new things, a lesson he hopes to pass on to other wheelchair-bound youth.
People will accept us when we start accepting us ourselves. So it depends us that we wake up and do something and prove them wrong.
We often have these ideas, these perceptions, these notions that often are wrong because society generally says you are different, you are not normal. You need to see the person first before you see the disability.